Are you ready?
Ready.
All right, let's go. Kevin here, Top 1 Financial Advisor and best-selling author. We are here to talk about the stock market. Today, we need to talk about tomorrow and Wednesday, and that is because tomorrow, Tuesday, December 13th, we are going to hear about the new inflation numbers, also known as CPI, Consumer Price Index. And then Wednesday, we're going to hear about where the Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates. And we already have what are called consensus estimates, which means that a bunch of smart people with a whole bunch of degrees come together and they say, hey, this is what we think is going to happen. And then we find out the next morning they were probably wrong and the stock market and the economy is in a whole different direction. But before we get more into that, I just gotta say, this sweater looks nice on camera. So I just got this new sweater. Obviously, it is festive. I will be wearing it at least 1 or 2 more times on camera before the year is over. So I'm gonna just throw it out there, okay? I just like the sweater. I've never had such a nice turtleneck with all these bells and whistles, okay? It's really fancy. All right, so let's go into the actual meat of the news and what you came here for. All right, so Consumer Price Index, we've talked about this, I feel like every month so far this year. The expectation is that inflation will be at 7.3% year over year. That is the expectation, which means that from December 2021 to December 2022, or actually November if we're being technical because we're actually going back to the previous month. So November of 2021 to November of 2022, inflation should come in at 7.3%, which would be a decrease from last month at 7.7%. Now remember, just a few months ago, it was like 8.6 or 8.2. So things are starting to cool down, but obviously 0.4% decrease in inflation doesn't really mean that much if it's still historically high. So that's the expectation. Now we are going to find out whether it is higher or lower than that number. Obviously, we would all like to see, I don't know, 7.2, 7.1, or 5, or 3, or anything lower is what we would like to see. But the market is definitely going to react. Already, the stock market reacted yesterday, or actually today, Monday, by the Dow, I think, was up like 500 points. The S&P 500 was up, I think, 1.43%, which is solid. I mean, that's a really good day. And we're going to see if that's going to continue tomorrow. Personally, I have no idea in which way it's going to go. I'm going to be honest with you, okay? Which is what we always do here, but I don't have a crystal ball. If I've learned anything else this year, it is hard to predict where you think inflation is going to go, which is why I'm not going to do it. So we're going to see, it will be quite interesting because you're going to get that number, and then right after that, on Wednesday, we're going to hear from the Federal Reserve. Now, the expectation here is that they're going to raise rates by 0.5%, also known as 50 basis points, which would be a step back from what we have seen earlier this year, when they were raising rates by 0.75%. They were doing it over and over and over again. So we're really going to get 2 pieces of news at the same time, and perhaps it's either going to agree with each other or they're going to conflict with each other. So here's what I mean by that. If we find out that inflation is 7.3% or lower, then it's going to signal to the Fed that, hey, look, we've been raising things by 0.75%. It's okay because things have been working. We're still going to raise it, but we're going to be less aggressive because we don't want to push the economy into a recession. And they've already said this, we've already covered this, that the Fed could start to slow down those rate hikes. I think this would be a good sign for the economy because it says that, hey, inflation is coming down. The Fed is not going to try to push us into a deep recession. That is what I would assume would happen. Now, we've done this a few times and the market acts in strange ways where, the jobs report is good, people are getting jobs, and the market falls. Why? Right? So the market can act in weird ways, especially in the short term. But again, the expectation is 7.3% and 0.5%. 0.5% for the interest rate increase, and then 7.3% for the CPI. Now, you're going to hear about the CPI probably the first thing in the morning. I may or may not even write an email first thing in the morning telling you about CPI and what it means. We already kind of know what it means. Prices are higher. We want those prices to be lower. If, however, we see that inflation is above that 7.3%, let's say it's 7.5 or God forbid it's even higher than what it was previously, then we're going to have a problem. It's going to signal that these rate hike increases have not worked. Now, to this point, they have. At one point, I think inflation was at 8.6 or 8.2, and it has started to come down very slowly. And we will see if that is going to continue. We do know also, with the exception of Friday, actually Friday I think we had the lowest gas prices we've had since before the Russian-Ukraine conflict. Now they started to come up just a bit because oil prices took a spike today, so we'll see how that goes. But we do know that gas prices are one of the biggest factors, not the only factor, but one of the biggest factors, I think in the top 5 or 6 in terms of what contributes to the inflation number. So gas prices going down should help us. I want to say shocked if it's not at 7.3 or below, but I would raise an eyebrow. I was like, I would definitely have expected it to be lower, right? Lower than 7.3. So if it's not, I'm not going to be like thrown off or, really just staring at that number, but I would be like, interesting. But I do expect it. I would hope that it is lower. I think we would all hope that it's lower, much lower than 7.3. So keep your eye on those two. Now, while you're doing that, as an investor, there are 2 things I want you to keep in mind. If you are mostly like me and I'm a long-term investor, I'm not really getting caught up into news and all kind of stuff, don't let what happens Tuesday and Thursday throw you off from your entire plans. I want you to really pay attention for 2 reasons. Number 1, you're already near the end of the year, and we're going to talk a little bit about taxes and how you can sell some stocks and write off on your taxes in some situations. What you don't want to do is go and panic buy and sell only to turn around at the end of the year and then mess up in terms of like short-term capital gains or long-term capital gains or anything like that. So it might not be worth really making a serious move close to the end of the year. A lot of times it's going to be noise anyway. The market is going to be overly excited because inflation is down, or it can be overly pessimistic because the Fed didn't raise rates high enough, or they didn't cut rates low enough, or whatever it's going to be. The market is always weird and noisy around this time. We've got 11 or 12 other examples that we have seen this year. So just keep note of that. The other thing, if you are this number 2 here, is if you are somebody who is really trying to gauge what price you want to buy a specific stock, I would pay attention in case the market is to fall significantly during 1 or 2 of these events. I'll also say that on Wednesday, and we've seen this several times before, the market is going to do whatever it's going to do on Wednesday. And sometimes, not always, sometimes there is a quick change when Jay Powell starts to speak. And I think, I can go and look this up, I think it's between like 12 and 2 o'clock on Wednesday. Just go back and double check that one. I'll check it after I upload this video. But usually, whether the market is up, he starts talking and it sinks, or this other way around where the market is down, he starts talking and the market pops just because he's talking. So do pay attention to that. And if you're somebody who is in an options trade, which is a little more advanced, or if you're somebody who's waiting to get a stock at a specific price, just be careful around that time. I'm not telling you to buy at that time. I'm not telling you to sell at that time. I'm just saying be careful, okay? Because the market can make some really strange swings. In some cases, you might be able to make some money. In some cases, some people are about to lose some money. So just be careful around that time. And it's usually good to know that stuff in advance so that you don't enter into a trade or something and then lose money because you forgot that this was going on. A lot of times I totally forget because I'm not a day trader, right? I don't have to be in the market every single day like that. So just getting out in front, telling you now, inflation first thing tomorrow morning. Be ready. Be reading, right? So I'm probably going to put out an email. We're obviously going to do a video about it if it is significant enough, which I'm pretty sure it will be. And then we'll talk about what happens on Wednesday and where they raise interest rates. So last time, 7.3% is the expectation. That is not the number. That is the expectation of what these economists are saying. And then we are expecting this. I would be shocked if this is not the case. We are expecting to see a 0.5% increase in interest rates based on whatever it is that Jay Powell and them being the Fed, tell us on Wednesday. All right, that is it for me. Let me know what other topics you want me to tackle this week. Also, if you have just general questions, especially as we hit the end of the year, including what stocks are you looking at, what kind of changes are you making to your portfolio, ask me those now. Like, help me, help you, help me by asking those questions now. And I ask because as we're getting close to the year, I'll be doing some traveling and stuff, so I can like record some videos in advance to make sure that we stay on our schedule and all of that. So ask some questions. Okay, I'm here for you. I want to make sure that this channel is the best, most helpful investing channel on the YouTubes. Okay, that's my goal. And we're also getting very close to our 5,000 subscriber mark. I think we hit like 4.6 the other day. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. And if you want to learn more make sure you hit the members only option. That button is right here and is right below this video as well. We do videos every single week. I told you guys I did one about pricing and why it's so important if you are trying to trade, if you're trying to dollar cost average with a little bit of twist, why it absolutely does matter what price you get in. So you want to make sure you check that out. All right, that's it for me. I'm gonna go find some more sorters. All right, talk to you later. Bye.